Hi everyone, I'm Diane Applewhite. Thank you for checking me out. Today I am making chicken and dumplings. Let me show you. I am putting 5 chicken thighs into the pot. It's about 2.5 pounds of chicken thighs. Place it in the pot along with a 1/2 cup of chopped onions, a cup of chopped celery, kind of large chunks, and about 4 chopped garlic cloves. I'm adding 8 cups of water, and I'm going to let it boil on medium-low heat until the chicken is tender enough for me to pull off the bone. Two and a half hours later, I think I should be able to start picking the meat off the bone. Let's see. Yes, it's just falling right out of the bone. Right off the bones, just like I like it. Now, I'm not going to keep the skin, so what I want to do, I'm going to take the skin off. Leave and pick the rest of the meat, leave it in the pot and just pick it off the bone. Like this is coming right off the bone. I'm just going to pick that bone right out of there. With the bone and the skin out and the chicken thighs broken up, I'm going to add my seasoning, which is, I'm putting a tablespoon of salt, a 1/2 tablespoon of sugar, heaping 1/2 tablespoon of sugar. I'm going to put in a teaspoon of, let me get a teaspoon, and this is coarse black pepper that I'm placing in there because I like coarse black pepper. I'm going to add 2 packets. My go-to chicken seasoning is this herb box. And I'm going to add 2 packets of this chicken seasoning. And also, let me get the seasoning in here. I'm also going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of, let me see, do I want a 1/2? Yes, a 1/2 teaspoon of, this is parsley flakes. I love parsley flakes in my dumplings. Then I'm going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of, this is this poultry seasoning. I'm going to do, that was an 8, so let me put 2 of those to bring to like about a 1/4 teaspoon of this chicken, of this poultry seasoning. And then I have another seasoning mix that I just want to use. It's just some plain old chicken grill seasoning that I'm using to use up. I'm going to put a 1/2 teaspoon, about a 1/2 teaspoon of the seasoning. And then I'm going to keep that going on a nice rolling boil. I'm going to cover the pot up again and move on. It's time to make the dumplings. I have in this bowl 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a half teaspoon of baking powder, and a half teaspoon of salt. I'm going to mix those together just a little bit. Then I'm also going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar. Mix that in some. Then I have here 6 tablespoons of butter and 4 tablespoons of Crisco, butter flavored Crisco, that I'm going to cut into the flour. Kind of like I'm making pie crust. I'm going to work in about 3/4 cups of buttermilk. Kind of get my dough going. I'm going to add a little bit more. So that's almost a whole cup of buttermilk that I'm adding. Now I'm going to flour this mat. And then roll this dough out. Really, really thin. Let me get my rolling pin. This is rolled out to about 1/8 of an inch. Nothing fancy. Sprinkle a little bit more flour on the top just to make it a little easy when I get ready to cut these into squares like I'm about to do right now. And I think, let me try this knife, but now I'm just going to cut them into squares. The dumplings into squares. Doesn't matter that much how, just depends on what size you like for your dumplings. I'm going to cut them into these squares and start to, let me wipe this off just a little bit. And then I'm going to start to take them, let me try this one and see if it comes up, and just pick them up and place them on this plate for now. Here are my dumplings. I kind of sprinkled them some with some flour just to make sure that they didn't stick too much when I put them in the pot. Now I'm going to drop the first one into the pot. Just gently place them in the pot. Like this. Got the dumplings all in with this last bit, and all I'm going to do is kind of stir it gently from the bottom of the pot. And I have turned up the heat a couple of notches so it's kind of moved more to medium high to pick up the boil, and I'm stirring the pot from the bottom. And if you noticed, I did not drain, you see this chicken broth? I did not drain off the chicken broth because instead of adding more butter to the pot, I'm using the chicken fat. I meant chicken fat, the fat off the chicken that I did not drain because I like that flavor, and I'm using the chicken fat rather than more butter into my dumplings. Now, while the dumplings are boiling, I am going to add, I tasted the broth earlier, and I'm going to add about a half a teaspoon of salt. That should do it. I'm gonna give it up and give it another little stir from the bottom. Then I'm going to cover the pot, cover them, the dumplings, and let them cook for about 15 minutes. I'm going to check on them after 15 minutes. Okay, y'all, so after 15 minutes, I can tell you that the seasoning is right, not too salty, the chicken flavor coming through, the celery. What I'm checking for now, though, is my broth. I want to make sure that my broth has the amount, the consistency, the thickness that I like. And I have to say at this point, it doesn't. So what I do is, I have some flour here, and what I do, I just take a little pinch in my hand and just kind of flake a little bit just at a time, because I don't want it to be too thick too fast. And I just add a little bit of that flour in there, move it around some, and I think I'll just about another bit, more like no more than a fourth to a half teaspoon that I'm adding to the pot. And I'm going to stir that. It's the broth. After adding that flour, not too thick. This is how I like it. And of course, if you want it thicker, you can always thicken it up with a little bit more flour. And I tell you, the dumplings, these are melt in your mouth dumplings. Yes, they are. Chicken and dumplings. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Bye-bye.